When the man she loved walked away, she thought her world had ended. But a year later, when fate brings them face to face again, she realizes losing him was the best thing that ever happened to her.
I used to believe that friendship, real friendship, was something sacred. That when you met someone who saw you, truly saw you, it was the universe's way of giving you a soulmate, just not the romantic kind. For most of my adult life, that person was Emily. We met in college when I was 19 and she was 20, sitting next to each other in an overfilled psychology lecture. I remember her dropping her pen, me picking it up, and her smiling in a way that made me feel like we already shared a secret. That's how our story began. So ordinary it could have been anyone's, but so profound that I thought it would last forever. We became inseparable. Study sessions turned into late-night talks, sleepovers, shared meals, shared heartbreaks. When I got my first apartment, she helped me paint the walls. When she broke up with her boyfriend, I stayed up with her all night while she cried. We joked that we were basically married. Everyone around us called us the twins. Same sense of humor, same music, same loyalty. After graduation, life pulled us in different directions, but never too far. Emily went into marketing. I got a job at a publishing company. We still saw each other almost every weekend. She knew everything about me. My insecurities, my family drama, my crushes, my fears. I trusted her more than I trusted anyone. So when I started dating Liam, I didn't hesitate to introduce them. Liam was charming, confident, the kind of man who could light up any room. Emily seemed to like him immediately. At least that's what I thought. We'd hang out together sometimes, dinner parties, movie nights, game nights. She'd tease us playfully, calling us the power couple. I thought it was all harmless fun. But sometimes I'd catch something in her eyes when she looked at him. Something hard to define. Not jealousy exactly. More like curiosity. A kind of quiet observation that didn't fit the usual Emily I knew. I brushed it off. I mean, she was my best friend. She'd never cross a line. About a year later, Liam and I moved in together. Emily helped us move boxes, set up the furniture, even bought us a housewarming gift, a small plant that she said would thrive as long as we did. I laughed at the time, not realizing how twisted those words would sound later. The first sign that something was wrong came one evening after work. Liam was acting distant, scrolling through his phone, and when I asked what was wrong, he just muttered, "Nothing, you wouldn't understand." It wasn't like him. He was usually open, talkative. I assumed he was stressed from work. But then the next few days, my boss called me into her office. She looked uncomfortable, almost pitying. She said there had been an anonymous submission to HR, a recording of me complaining about my job and criticizing a coworker. I was mortified. I had no idea where it came from. When I heard the recording, my blood ran cold. It was my voice. I was venting, yes, about my coworker, about how lazy he was, how unfair the workload felt, but it was a private conversation, something I'd said in confidence. And the person I'd said it to was Emily. I remember my hands shaking as I left the office. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd faint. The recording wasn't just my voice. There was hers too, faintly laughing in the background. She had been recording me. When I called her, she acted completely surprised. "What are you talking about?" she said, her tone so convincingly confused that for a moment I questioned my own sanity. But when I demanded to meet in person, she agreed, too easily. We met that evening at a small cafe we used to go to. I showed her the HR email, the attached audio file. She stared at it for a second, then sighed. "Okay," she said finally, setting her coffee down. "I can explain." She said she'd been recording little moments of our conversations for a podcast she was planning, something about modern friendships and honesty. She said she never meant it to get out, that maybe someone hacked her cloud storage. She kept insisting she didn't mean any harm. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But something in her voice sounded rehearsed. Too calm. Too measured. "Emily," I whispered, "why didn't you tell me you were recording me at all?" She shrugged. "Because you would have acted differently. I wanted it to be authentic." I felt sick. Authentic. My private venting, my vulnerable moments, my stupid complaints, all content for her new project? I stood up to leave and she reached out to grab my wrist. "You're overreacting," she said. "It's not like I sent it to your boss. I'd never do that." But someone had. Someone with access to that recording. Someone who knew exactly how to hurt me. For the next week, I spiraled. HR issued me a warning. My coworkers started avoiding me. I cried in the bathroom at work, wondering who else had heard my voice, who else knew. Liam tried to comfort me, but he was distant, distracted. And then one night, while scrolling through social media, I found something that made my stomach drop. Emily had launched her Honesty podcast. The title? The People We Pretend to Be. The cover image? A close-up photo of 2 coffee mugs. Our mugs. The same ones from our favorite cafe. And the first episode was titled The Friend Who Lied to Herself. The description: a story about a woman who says she's happy, but behind closed doors, she's falling apart. My hands trembled as I pressed play. And then I heard my voice.
At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Maybe it was some kind of AI voice filter or an actress mimicking me. Anything but what it really was. But as the episode went on, every word, every sigh, every awkward laugh was mine. My words, my thoughts, stripped of their context and arranged into a story I didn't recognize anymore. Emily had edited everything. She twisted my private moments into something humiliating, something that painted me as fake, bitter, jealous. She even added narration, her voice, calmly dissecting my life like she was some kind of psychologist. "You see, some people," she said in that smooth, knowing tone, "build their entire identities around being the victim. They'll tell you stories about betrayal, about bad relationships, but they never admit that they're the common denominator." She was talking about me. I felt like I was going to throw up. She had turned me into a case study, a villain in her story. And the worst part? It sounded convincing. By the next morning, the episode had hundreds of comments and thousands of views. People were praising her for her bravery and honesty. They called her insightful, real, raw. And then there were the comments about me. Though they didn't know my name, it was clear who she was describing. Wow, I had a friend like that too, toxic and fake. Good for you, Emily, for cutting people like that out of your life. Some people just love playing the victim. Each one felt like a dagger. Liam was in the kitchen when I walked in, pale and trembling. "Did you hear it?" I asked him, my voice breaking. He hesitated. "Yeah, I listened to part of it." "Part of it?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Look, maybe she didn't mean to hurt you." "Are you serious?" I snapped. "She recorded me without my consent, twisted everything I said, and posted it for the world to hear." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, but maybe she's just dealing with her own stuff, you know? You two were really close." I stared at him, waiting for some sign of outrage, of support, anything. But there was nothing. He just looked tired, distant. That was the moment something shifted inside me. The safety I'd once felt in my life, my job, my relationship, my best friend, it was gone. Everything had been replaced with this raw, throbby emptiness. Over the next few weeks, Emily's podcast exploded in popularity. She posted 2 more episodes, both thinly veiled versions of our private conversations. In one, she discussed a friend in denial about her partner's lies. In another, she shared a real-life example of emotional dependency. That second one, it was about Liam and me. He's not the problem. She is. She clings to him because she's terrified of being alone. She projects all her insecurities onto him. It's tragic, really. Hearing her voice say that about me made my hand shake so badly I dropped my phone. That night, I confronted her again. I called, texted, emailed, no response. Finally, I showed up at her apartment. She opened the door with a calm, almost bored expression. "Wow," she said, crossing her arms. "You really shouldn't be here." I pushed past her, my anger bubbling over. "How could you do this to me?" She didn't flinch. "Do what?" "Don't play dumb. You recorded me, you humiliated me, and now you're profiting from it." She gave a small laugh. "You think I'm profiting? Please. I'm telling stories that matter. I'm helping people see themselves clearly." "By destroying me?" Her eyes met mine, cold, analytical, like she was studying me. "You always make everything about you, don't you?" That sentence hit me harder than I expected, because I'd heard it before. From Liam. I felt dizzy. "You sound just like him." Maybe he's right then. Something inside me cracked. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to shake her until she understood how much she'd hurt me, but instead I just whispered, "You were my best friend." "And I was your best lesson," she said quietly. That was it. That was the moment I realized Emily didn't see me as a person anymore. To her, I was content. After that, I blocked her on everything. Social media, phone, email. I thought if I cut her off completely, she'd lose interest and move on, but instead, she doubled down. New episodes kept coming, and soon, people online started trying to guess who her anonymous subject was. Someone even found my LinkedIn profile, connected the dots, and posted it on Reddit. Overnight, my inbox flooded with hateful messages from strangers. "You're disgusting. No wonder your friend left you. People like you ruin relationships." I couldn't sleep. I barely ate. At work, everyone avoided eye contact, and I was told to take a leave of absence. I'd gone from being respected to being pitied, or worse, despised. The only person I had left was Liam, but even that was falling apart. One night, I overheard him on the phone, his voice low, urgent. I couldn't catch every word, but I heard her name, Emily. My chest went cold. When I confronted him, he swore it was nothing, just a quick check-in. But then he slipped, said something about how she was going through a lot and didn't deserve all the hate. "How do you even know that?" I demanded. He froze. "She called me. She wanted to explain her side." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You talked to her after everything she did to me?" "She just wanted to clear the air. I didn't want to make things worse." "Make things worse?" I laughed bitterly. "She destroyed me, and you're comforting her?" He didn't answer. And that silence, that awful, suffocating silence, told me everything. He didn't believe me anymore. That night, I couldn't stop shaking. I sat on the bathroom floor with my laptop, scrolling through every hateful comment, every repost, every cruel meme made from my voice. My entire identity had become someone else's entertainment. And then I found something that made my blood freeze. A new teaser for Emily's next episode. The title, "The Moment She Finally Snapped." The caption, "When someone's lies finally catch up to them, the world will see who they truly are." And the thumbnail? A blurry, zoomed-in photo of me, standing outside her apartment.
For weeks, I tried to pretend nothing had changed between us. I told myself that Alex was just busy, that he didn't mean to ignore my messages, that he didn't mean to leave me hanging when we used to talk every night. But denial only lasts so long. The first time I really felt the distance was on his birthday. I had planned everything. I bought him the limited edition vinyl of his favorite band, wrapped it perfectly, and even baked that ridiculous triple chocolate cake he once said he'd die for. But when I got to his place, he wasn't there. His mom answered the door, surprised to see me.
"Oh, hi, Emma. You just missed him. He went out with some friends," she said, with that apologetic smile mothers have when they know something you don't. I stood there for a moment, holding the gift, the cake cooling in my hands. "Some friends," she said. "That used to mean me." I left the cake on their counter and walked home in silence. The night air felt heavier than usual, pressing down on me. I didn't cry, not then. I just felt this dull ache that wouldn't go away. The next day, I decided I wouldn't reach out first anymore. I wanted to see if he would notice my absence. But days turned into weeks and nothing, not a single message. Then one evening, as I was scrolling through Instagram, I saw a photo that made my stomach drop. Alex in a group of people at a bonfire, laughing. He was sitting close to a girl I didn't recognize, her head leaning slightly toward his shoulder. The caption read, "Best night ever." It shouldn't have hurt as much as it did. We weren't dating, we weren't even fighting. We just stopped. I stared at that picture for a long time, trying to figure out where it went wrong. Did I say something? Was I too much? Too clingy? Or maybe I wasn't enough, not interesting enough, not new enough. Eventually, I typed out a message. "Hey, just wanted to check in. Haven't talked in a while. Hope you're okay." I deleted it, then typed it again. Then deleted it once more. Instead, I threw my phone across the bed and whispered to no one, "You should have cared." Later that week, he finally texted, a simple, "Hey, sorry, been busy lately. How've you been?" My heart jumped, even though I hated that it did. I stared at the message for minutes, knowing that whatever I said next would decide what little was left of us. So I lied. "I've been good. You?" He replied a few minutes later, "Same. We should hang out soon." But we didn't. And for the first time, I realized that sometimes people don't drift apart because of a fight. Sometimes they just stop choosing each other. It happened by accident. Or maybe fate was just cruel that day. It was late afternoon, and I was standing in line at the coffee shop near the park, the same one Alex and I used to go to after class. I hadn't been there in months. The smell of roasted beans and the faint indie music playing in the background hit me with nostalgia I didn't ask for. I was waiting for my order when I heard that familiar laugh. That laugh. I turned, and there he was, Alex. He looked almost the same, but not quite. His hair was a little longer, his face slightly older, but his eyes still had that glint of careless warmth I used to love. And beside him was her, the girl from the bonfire picture. They were standing close, sharing earbuds, smiling at something on his phone. I froze. The room spun for a moment, the sound of milk steamers and chatter fading into white noise. I could have walked out, I should have walked out, but I didn't. When he looked up and saw me, his expression shifted. First surprise, then guilt, then that awkward half-smile people give when they don't know what to say. "Emma," he said, as if the name itself was heavy on his tongue. "Hey," I managed to reply, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The girl beside him turned, polite but curious. "Oh, hi, I'm Lily." I nodded. "Nice to meet you." My voice sounded detached, foreign. Alex cleared his throat. "Wow, it's been a while, huh?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "It has." There was an uncomfortable silence, thick and sharp. My coffee order was called, just then, a saving grace. I grabbed it quickly, ready to escape, but he stopped me. "Hey, wait," he said, taking a step closer. "We should catch up sometime." I laughed, but it came out brittle. "Catch up, Alex? We barely talk. You didn't even tell me you," gestured vaguely toward Lily, "had someone new." He frowned. "It's not like that. Things just happened." "Yeah," I said, my voice trembling. "They always just happen with you, don't they?"
Lily looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. "I'll wait outside," she said softly, before slipping out the door. Now it was just us, and years of unspoken words between us. "You could have said something. Anything. Instead, you disappeared. Do you know how that feels?" He sighed, running his hand through his hair. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Emma. I didn't know how to handle it. Everything was changing." I stared at him, trying to find some piece of the boy who used to stay up with me until 3 a.m., talking about everything and nothing. But he wasn't there anymore. "You didn't want to handle it. You wanted an easier version of friendship, one that didn't require effort or honesty." He looked at me for a long time, but said nothing. That silence, the same one that broke us months ago, filled the space again. Finally, I smiled sadly. "It's okay, Alex. You don't owe me anything. I just wish you'd said goodbye instead of fading out." Then I turned and walked out, the bell above the cafe door chiming like a full stop. Outside, I saw Lily waiting by the bench, her hand slipping into his as he followed me with his eyes. I didn't look back again. But as I walked away, one thought echoed in my mind. Maybe closure isn't something you get from them. Maybe it's something you give yourself.
A year can change everything. Or maybe it just shows you what was always meant to change. It's been 12 months since that day in the cafe. 12 months since I watched Alex walk away with her, holding a version of him that no longer belonged to me. And in that time, I rebuilt myself. Not all at once, but piece by piece. At first, it was hard. The silence was deafening. I'd wake up expecting a message from him, something small like, "You up?" or "Remember that song?" But it never came. So I stopped waiting. I deleted the chat history. I unfollowed him. I started journaling, writing down every thought I'd wanted to say out loud, but never could. And slowly, something unexpected happened. I began to feel lighter. I started spending more time outside, reading in the park, taking solo trips, meeting people who didn't remind me of what I'd lost. I found joy in the ordinary: morning coffee, rain tapping against my window, quiet evenings spent painting badly, but happily. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't defined by who I was to someone else. I was just me. But fate, or irony, loves to circle back. It was late autumn, and I was at a charity art event downtown with some friends. I was laughing at something one of them said when I saw him across the room. Alex. He looked different, older maybe, a bit tired, but still familiar in that haunting way. Our eyes met for a second, and everything around me blurred, like time had folded in on itself. He hesitated, then walked over. "Emma," he said softly, almost in disbelief. "Wow, you look good." I smiled politely. "Thanks, you too." There was a pause, not awkward this time, just quiet. "I've been meaning to reach out. I heard you got that job in publishing. That's amazing." "Yeah," I said, smiling a little. "It's been good. Busy, but good." He nodded, shifting his weight. "Listen, I wanted to say I'm sorry for how things ended, for disappearing. I didn't realize how much I hurt you until it was too late." I looked at him, really looked at him. The boy who once meant everything to me. Now just another chapter I'd already read too many times. "I appreciate that," I said gently, "but you don't have to apologize anymore. I've moved on." He blinked, taken aback. "Moved on?" "Yeah," I said. "From the hurt, from the what ifs, from needing closure. You were a big part of my life, Alex, but I've learned to let go of people who only stay halfway." He opened his mouth, maybe to say something, but closed it again. His expression softened, almost sad. He said, "You've changed." I had to. I finally realized my worth doesn't depend on who chooses to see it. We stood there for a moment, Two people who once shared everything, now just two strangers bound by memory. Then he smiled faintly. He said, "I'm glad you're happy." "I am," I replied, "truly." He nodded, then walked away, fading into the crowd just like he had before. But this time, it didn't hurt. I watched him go, then turned back to my friends, laughing as if I'd never missed a beat. Because I hadn't lost anything that night. I'd simply outgrown what was never meant to stay. And for the first time, I felt the quiet, satisfying peace of knowing that I didn't need to be chosen. I just needed to be free.